Hi and good morning, everyone. Are you lasting? Are you enduring? Has the will to persist seized you? It's a good type of will, isn't it, you know? He that shall endure to the end shall be saved. It's from the Elijah Oratorio. It's quite a wonderful piece of music. So this is a fairly practical little talk, and it'll involve a little meditation. Sometimes we look at the monad and we say, well, the monad is found upon the second subplane of the cosmic physical plane. But, you know, the essence of the monad is something else. The vehicle of the monad is found there, and that's destroyed. And what do you have then? You have the volatile essence, which is flying into the sea of fire. So, you know, what we're really interested in is the very heart of the monad, which is pure being, and which goes through vehicle after vehicle on the, in all the 10 dimensions of cosmos, which he gives in the Cosmic Fire, right around 1084. He mentions his 10 dimensions of cosmos, and you have to realize that each superplane becomes just a physical plane. So, but the essence of the monad endures. So it's the eternal flame of being, and it's far more than any vehicle through which the monad expresses. But, you know, we don't have to worry about things that are beyond the cosmic physical plane, because even the Christ is working still with the cosmic physical plane. So we have a ways to go. The very first expression of the monad is will, and Roberto Assagioli brought that forth as he, had his egg diagram, and he showed you how will came out of the soul and so forth. Will pertains always to the higher aspects of our nature, the sacrificial will. Now, think about how will works in your life. The sacrificial will of the soul working through the sacrifice petals of the egoic lotus. The will to synthesis arising still more interiorly from your inner group of petals, which are unfolding a little bit with each initiation. So from the will synthesis petal, one of the inner three, comes this factor of willing synthesis. And then there's the will of Atma, which is the true spiritual will, and which requires a very impersonal approach. Because, as it said, God is no respecter of persons. That's an old saying. And by the time we reach identification with that, we're already a master, and the personality is expendable. For most of us, the personality is held dear, so we have to, that's a trip. And then finally, as far as the members of the fourth creative hierarchy, that's us, right? As far as that we are concerned, there's the will of the monad, which for us at least is the very essence of will. So these progressive aspects of will are at least something we can conceptualize. What it is on the cosmic physical, cosmic astral plane, and whether those planes are even pracritic or even made of atoms or anything like that, we don't know. And the Tibetan says, look, I haven't been there either. So he has a lot of theoretical knowledge about the cosmic physical plane, cosmic astral plane, but he says, I know not, I have not been there. So we have quite a destiny ahead of us, and we'll find these things out. So at first, will works from this monadic center outward into lower and lower states of vibration. And I want to contrast this. Now, this is not an absolute contrast. This is just ways of thinking about things that may be helpful. And desire works more from the outside, and it may never reach the center, by itself, because it needs something more to propel it. And so the highest will, I think, of which we are capable, arises from identification as a monad. Now it requires a tremendous simplification, where all of the complexity of the world is reduced to absolute substance, or at least through, I like to use the word infuseption. It's a way of perceiving the one, It's reduced through infuseption into this homogeneity, into this pervasion which is identical for everybody. So the highest will of which we are capable is identification as a spirit. And you know, the spirit will drive us towards that goal, because the spirit absolutely demands to be free from its complex self-objectifications, which are a trap for it if it just stays there, okay? So then the will of the planetary logos will work through us when we have that kind of identification. And even, you know, the monad is that which has its home, or finds its home, within the sun. And that's even in initiation, human and solar. So some of the solar intention of the solar logos is coming through the monad. I mean, we are solar beings, really, you know, and we should never forget that. We are basically representing this great heart of love, which is a heart center in the local cosmic logos. So everybody, no matter what your ray, is a unit of love, basically. A few contrasts: will is preeminent and it directs desire. Will necessarily involves a mental focus. The mind is a carrier of the will. When you say, now you mind me, you know, that carries the will when you say that. And this is not necessarily so with desire, unless desire is guided by will. Will contains, I'm contrasting here, right? Trying to be practical, contrasting. Will contains the means of achieving an objective, and desire by itself does not contain such means. Desire is relatively static. It's a condition of magnetism we'll talk about here. Will essentially serves the manifestation of the divine plan. And desire, as far as the human being is concerned, you know, because these greater beings, they have their types of desire too, and their desire is like love for us. So desire is a huge cosmic principle, and the very high aspects of desire actually work out as some of our highest principles, if they are the desire of a great being. But we're talking relatively about human desire. So our will serves the manifestation of the divine plan, and desire, as far as the human being is concerned, is far more errant, you know, and it works in the lower three worlds until it's reoriented as aspiration. So desire will take you anywhere and not necessarily on the right path. Will, at its best, leads to identification. And how does this achieve, you know, sort of the breaking of one ring pass knot after another until, you know, this is an interesting idea, until one re-becomes what one forever is. Now it's paradox, you know. You break one ring pass knot after another until we re-become what we forever are. And of course, we've never not been that, but it's just a question of the consciousness of it. Okay. Re-becomes. Oh, this is not England, UK, this is England, Finland. Okay, there we go. All right. Desire is based on duality, as it is, and at its best it leads to the unity, and of course, unless will is applied, desire really leads nowhere. So what we're going to do is try to contrast these two things in our own feeling nature. Essentially, essential will, it functions devoid of emotional content, and we know desire is just filled with emotional content. The desire is far more external than will is. You know, will works when we find our center. Essential will, and I'm really calling that monadic will and all of its permutations, you know. Essential will leads to detachment. And desire, so often, interestingly, it leads to attachment, even if, you know what I mean, attachment to detachment. You know what I mean? I'm attached to being detached. Okay. There are some, it happens, you know. Attachment happens. All right. So will eventually liberates from form, and desire tends to attach to some form or other because it's connected to the second aspect of divinity. Desire is wanting to get there, and will assures that one actually gets there. Desire is quite, look, I'm dichotomizing. This is not absolutely so. You know, there are shades of gray here, but I'm trying to make a bipolar contrast which will help us think of these two factors in the human energy system in a clearer way. Desire is resistible, and true will, as it descends from our highest point of tension, is ultimately irresistible. Will win, it will win. Because it is the will win, it is the first externalization of the great spirit, and the spirit always prevails. The task of the spiritual aspirant is to align desire with will. So desire alone will never make its way to the center, and will. Okay, will. Will is the prime mover. It's the primal motion. And desire is more a magnetic relationship between the desirer and that which is desired, and this is forever based on duality. It's the mystical consciousness. Now, Neptune doesn't necessarily, Neptune can lead to occult consciousness. As long as duality is destroyed and identification is achieved, then we have occult consciousness. But as long as duality is preserved, the desirer and the desired, we have mystical consciousness. So desire is always based on duality, but it does not necessarily involve action towards attainment of the objective. Okay, so I hope, that, we're, without desire, the universe would never get back together. Desire is the reaching towards the primal unity and the primal oneness. That is, once we've made the turn. On the path of outgoing, the path of involution, desire is to kind of get as differentiated as the universal algorithm allows, I mean, the ultimate particle event, I call this thing, we can't go any lower than that. I mean, in the mind you can achieve infinity and infinite division and all that, but whatever being it is that supervises the universe, it doesn't allow that, because otherwise you would have infinite universes and then the law of periodicity would be violated. So you can't do that. There is an end to self-division and to the diminution of emanation. It can only get so small, okay? Now, let's have a little reflection. And so this is like a little meditation, So, you don't even have to read this. This is just straightforward. We're going to, because we can talk about things a lot, and on the cognitive level, they'll mean something, but on the experiential level, they might not. So let's try to get into the experiential level a little bit. So, going inward, think about something which you really keenly desire, intensely desire. Think about that. Because, there's going to be something. Whatever it is, just be honest with yourself, what is it you really, really, really want, keenly. And try to sense or perceive what is your magnetic relationship with this state or this object or this condition, whatever you want to call it, that you desire. Try to really feel what the desire is. Feel the nature of desire involved as a magnetic relationship between the one desiring and that which is desired. Now search your motive. Why is it, you think, that you desire what you desire? What is your motive? Where does that motive come from? So that's what you desire, and the sense of the magnetism of desire and the motive behind this desire. Now try to contrast what you have been impressed by with the will to do or achieve what you keenly desire. Because you could stay all day in the state of desiring without moving an inch closer to it. So contrast the feeling, the impression of the will to do, the will to accomplish, the will to achieve, with the state of desire you were earlier contemplating. What's the difference in the impression? And what type of will should you be employing to achieve your desired objective? Give that will a name. Now, envision yourself using or being used by this type of will as applied to your achievement, to your desired achievement. And what do you see yourself doing? And how does it feel when you are working under the impulsion of this particular will, which helps you achieve the desired objective? What are you doing? How does it feel? And I just assume that we're going to lay the plans, having clarified even a little the difference between what you keenly desire and the will to make it happen. We're going to lay the plans to do it. So we'll just close this with a final impression of the contrast between desire and will. You've held two things in consciousness. Try to have an impression in your consciousness about a clear impression about the difference between them. So good. This is an important and practical differentiation. And as students of esotericism who are beginning to apply ourselves to the will curriculum as well as the love curriculum, it's necessary to make this differentiation and practice the will.